Then, lift the flywheel all the way up to see the flat or dimples on the shaft. Rotate the flywheel so the set screw in the flywheel is aligned with the shaft flat. Next, lower the flywheel until it's flush with the bottom of the shaft. Align the set screw with the flat and tighten it firmly with an Allen wrench. Then, reinstall the blade and blade iron assembly. Please remember, if the flywheel is damaged or otherwise defective, you can't repair it in the field. You must contact the factory to arrange for repairs. Now, a little on the category of noise problems that can most likely drive homeowners crazy. These include the rattle, the click, and the tick. Occasionally, a wire nut or other object in the switch housing moves and strikes against the switch. Simply check inside the switch housing and tape or reposition the object that might be causing the noise. Another source of clicking or ticking might be loose blades or blade holders. This sometimes happens with our high-gloss blades. Try retightening the screws or use a click kit that is available from Casablanca. The felt washers of the click kit will minimize stress on the blades. A surprising number of people complain about the buzz or vibration from light bulbs. Some types of bulbs are more prone to hum than others. We always suggest you use the bulb type recommended by Casablanca. And don't forget, a 60-watt bulb is a maximum allowable bulb size. You may find someone using a 75 or 100-watt bulb in the fixtures. Please, make sure that any higher wattage bulbs are changed to a 60-watt light bulb. Light bulbs that are too large may damage the electronics or even the light kit. If you think that a defective light bulb is causing a hum problem, unscrew the bulbs one at a time, leaving each bulb out as it's removed. Of course, anytime light bulbs are dimmed, you should expect to hear some buzzing. This is normal and occurs with any type of dimmer. All Casablanca fans use a precision set of bearings in the top and bottom of the motor to assure extremely quiet operation. Occasionally, however, you may hear a whirring or swishing sound from a motor. This is usually caused by new motor bearings that may not have an even distribution of lubrication. Run the fan for a few days to break in the motor and fully lubricate the bearings. If a grinding sound is heard, we suggest you once again check first to see if the flywheel has dropped and is rubbing against the switch housing. If that's not the problem, check for a piece of sealing texture, styrofoam, wire, or insulation that may have dropped into the motor during installation. The best bet is to run the motor for an extended period of time to remove these materials. We also suggest reversing the fan direction periodically to try to eject the material. If the problem continues, remove the fan and turn it upside down. Contact the factory for advice if the problem continues. The same is true of defective bearings, which doesn't happen very often. Again, contact the factory for repairs. You are all probably familiar with 60-cycle hum. 60-cycle hum can mean different things on various Casablanca models. For example, on an old Slumber Quiet fan with no wall control, a 60-cycle hum means the printed circuit board should be replaced. On a Delta fan, where no wall control is being used, it means replacement of the Delta circuit board. On non-slumber fans or slumber fans being controlled by a solid-state device, you should expect to hear a 60-cycle hum. That was a very common characteristic of that vintage of fans. Remember, if you run a fan without blades, it will hum, so install the blades before checking for noise. If a wall control is being used, bypass the control to verify that it's the source of the noise. On a lot of older fan models, the best solution for a noise problem is to use our new W4 wall control with the speed control at the fan placed on high speed. Keep in mind, the W4 wall control itself will make a small amount of noise when selecting speed or changing functions. A 60-cycle hum on an Intellitouch fan model can mean something different. When operating the W11 or W12 wall control, hum is normal during the operation of the switches. You might want to try this on a properly operating Intellitouch fan just to familiarize yourself with the sound. If you hear these sounds when the switches aren't being operated, there may be a stuck switch in the wall control. Pushing on the stuck switch may correct the problem. If it does not, replace the wall control. By the way, in that rare situation where a home is very close to a power transformer, you may find that service voltage exceeds the 127-volt maximum for Intellitouch fan operation. There may be a small amount of 60-cycle hum with a voltage above the 127-volt limit. To sum it up, I'm not going to tell you that noise problems are always caused by something other than the fan. We all know better than that. But look beyond the fan first. There are many factors that can quickly add noise to a fan that is otherwise operating properly. Look for these factors, and many apparently major service problems can become pretty simple. At Casablanca, we consider service to be an important part of our commitment to the customer. I would like to take these few minutes to pass on to you some helpful service tips on two of our fan types, the Intellitouch and the Slumber series. First, before beginning any service work, we urge you to make sure you know the date of manufacture of the product. That date is necessary to find the appropriate service information in the service manual. Also, follow the instructions in the service manual so you're headed in the right direction. Let's talk about servicing the Intellitouch series first. If the problem is erratic operation, we suggest you first check the house where the fan is installed. If there are defective fluorescent lights or an erratic exhaust fan, the Intellitouch fan might be affected. Light dimmers with no suppressors and even other types of ceiling fans can adversely affect the Intellitouch. We suggest you turn off the circuit breaker to find out what else is on the same circuit with the fan. Make sure any problem outside the fan is fixed before attempting any repairs on the Intellitouch fan. A quick reminder about Intellitouch servicing. Servicing modules in the field means replacing them. Let's look at some specific repairs that are commonly made in the field. This device is what we call a bidirectional flow regulator, or BFR. It is a silicon rubber resistance network that is adhered to the motor housing. After removing the recognition and memory module, or RMM assembly, and its supporting screws, simply peel the BFR from the motor and note its part number. You must replace it with the same number. As long as there are no chunks of rubber adhering to the motor, you should be able to install a new BFR without cleaning the adhesive off the motor. Installing the BFR is easy. Peel back one end of the paper backing on the new BFR, then install one screw in the same end to hold the BFR in alignment on the motor. Then, while gradually pulling the paper away from the back of the BFR, move around the motor while gently pushing the BFR into place. Remember, do not stretch the BFR, as you may damage the internal resistance network. Once the BFR is adhered to the motor and any air bubbles are worked out, replace the RMM shroud to complete the assembly. Replacing the RMM assembly is fairly simple, but you have to make sure you're replacing it with the right part. The service manual is very helpful in determining the specific RMM that is in the particular fan that you are servicing. It is important to determine whether or not the fan is flick or non-flick. The easiest way to do this is to ask the customer. If the lights normally come on when the power switch is turned on, then it's a flick fan. There are 5 different types of RMMs. The original Intellitouch module, the RMM1, is easy to spot since it uses a separate light drive module, the LDM, in the switch housing. The RMM1 mounts in a plastic bracket, the only version to do so. Replacing an RMM1 means lifting the circuit board out of its plastic mounting bracket and replacing the entire printed circuit board assembly. The RMM2 is what we call the high rel. Notice there are 2 separate printed circuit board assemblies permanently attached to the aluminum mounting bracket and shroud combination. When replacing this type of RMM, you'll need to replace the entire shroud assembly. Look at the big yellow capacitor carefully and look for a black dot. If you find a dot, make sure you replace the RMM with the correct unit from the parts list, since this unit has slightly different characteristics than the other high-rel RMMs. The RMM3 is the newest RMM, and you'll recognize it by the 2 semiconductor devices on one half of the shroud assembly. There's also a special version of the RMM3 for the Venus fan, which uses a different shroud because of its unique mounting. To replace these later RMM types, simply loosen the 2 screws and slip the shroud out. When replacing the LDM on earlier model fans, make sure you replace it by specific part number. One of the LDMs is a very low profile design for the Victorian Limited Edition model. When replacing the LDM, make sure the wire routing is smooth with a good fit to prevent possible damage to the wiring. Save the insulating paper that you remove and use it again. If there is a white wire in the switch housing capped with a wire nut, make sure it remains capped. The 3-way installation is a common source of problems and aggravation with the Intellitouch series. A 3-way installation is one in which the fan and light can be controlled from 2 separate locations. It gets its name from the fact that 3 wires must run between the 2 switches. We won't try here to explain how to do these installations, but we urge you to carefully study the installation procedures and wiring diagrams for this type of control. Since January 1, 1989, all service replacement electronics for Intellitouch fans have been equipped with a metal oxide varistor, or MOV, on the printed circuit board. The MOV is a component that helps protect the fan from electrical surges experienced during lightning storms or the switching of other electrical appliances in the home. The MOV may be installed within the canopy or by replacing the printed circuit board assembly. Now let's look at the Slumber Quiet series from several years back. Pay special attention to the motor and control assembly. You'll notice that there is a very large heatsink mounted to the motor and a printed circuit board assembly in the switch housing. To simplify things, you should first know that all these fans are out of warranty. When servicing them, you should refer to the suggested retail price list to solve a customer problem. The failure most often found with these fans is that the fan will only run at high speed. Always replace the heatsink, printed circuit board, and potentiometer at the same time. If you don't, you'll soon be back to do the job again. And be careful. When connecting the wires to the heatsink assembly, connect the green wire only to the transistor lead leg marked with a green dot or green arrow. And when reconnecting the blue wire to the transistor base, make sure that the blue wire does not make electrical contact with the heatsink. Reversing the green lead with the yellow lead or shorting the blue lead to the ground will cause the installation to fail. The service manual has a very good troubleshooting chart that will help resolve any other problems with the Slumber Quiet fan. The service manual also does an excellent job of covering some of the other Casablanca control types, including the Slumber 3 3-speed circuit board, the Slumber 5 5-speed flex circuit, the non-Slumber K55 and K63 fans from the pre-1980 period. It also shows the conversion of the 5-speed flex circuit to a 3-speed delta fan and describes the installation use of various wall controls. I hope you find these service tips helpful, and remember, service is an important part of good customer relations. As a part of our service commitment to the customer, your contribution is critical and appreciated. In more ways than one, the ceiling fan industry has undergone a revolution, and Casablanca has been the leader in making the ceiling fan a practical and attractive addition to the modern home. Casablanca's Intellitouch series has been in production for more than 6 years, and it's the only successful remote control ceiling fan sold today. Casablanca is now proud to introduce its newest partner, ComfortTouch, a revolutionary comfort and convenience control system. ComfortTouch is totally different. It's wireless. ComfortTouch adds many new, easy-to-use features to the world of ceiling fans. We'll see those features in just a few minutes, but first, a word about the ease of installation of ComfortTouch. As you'll see during the installation, the wall control can be mounted either on a convenient wall bracket or placed on a tabletop or at bedside. The fan itself installs like any other Casablanca model, so let's look at installing the wall control. First, the wall control bracket installs with 2 screws. Next, install 3 AAA alkaline batteries in the control and close the cover. The ComfortTouch has 4 Velcro pads which engage matching pads on the wall bracket. Simply place the wall control against the bracket and push slightly. That's it. That's all there is to installing the ComfortTouch wall control. Now, assuming you've installed the fan correctly, let's take a tour of the ComfortTouch and see its many new features. Looking at the face of the control, you first see a large liquid crystal display in the center. This display will constantly show the actual room temperature, as well as other information designed to help the user understand what the fan is doing and to allow easier use. On either side of the display are 2 large panels. These are the fan and light on-off buttons. Below each panel are 2 up-down buttons which are used to adjust the light intensity up or down and the fan speed up or down. Now, since these are the features most frequently used on the fan, they are the only ones available on the face of the control. Features used less frequently are accessible behind a small control panel, but we'll get to that in just a minute. Now let's take a look at the operation of the ComfortTouch. Push the light button on. Notice the lights on the fan gradually increase to full intensity instead of snapping on instantly. Not only does this spare the eyes from a blast of light, it also extends the life of the light bulbs by eliminating the surge of current that normally occurs when a light is turned on. By the way, you also heard a small audio tone which comes from the wall control, not the fan. A tone is heard anytime one of the control buttons is pushed. To turn the light off, just push the light button again. The audio tone confirms your push, the light bulb and vertical segment in the display go off, and the light gradually begins to turn off. This safe exit feature is designed to allow 10 seconds for leaving the room before the lights turn completely off. If you want to turn the light off immediately, just push the light button a second time. Let's turn the lights on again and operate the up-down buttons you see below the light button. By pushing the down button, you can see the light getting dimmer and the display segments moving downward to indicate a dimmer light. This new light setting is memorized by the fan so that the light can be turned on and off at this new memorized setting. Of course, pushing the up arrow causes the light to get brighter. The fan control works essentially the same way. Push the fan button and the fan comes on. Now, since this is the first time it's been turned on, the fan starts at low speed. To make the fan go faster, simply push the up button. You can see the new speed indicated in the display. Notice also in the display that the arrow is pointing downward, indicating downward airflow. This is an extremely helpful feature for those who have trouble figuring out which way the fan needs to turn in order to have either upward or downward airflow. And of course, you've got a down arrow to slow the fan as well. Now, as with the light, the fan speed is memorized at each setting so that when the fan is turned off and back on, it starts at the speed previously selected. And as with the original Intellitouch, there are 6 fan speeds. Well, these are the most frequently used features of the fan. Now let's open the small control compartment door and look at some of the exciting new features of ComfortTouch. You see 6 buttons, each labeled with a specific function. Unlike the original Intellitouch, there is no programming required to use these features. Watch how simple it is to operate. To reverse airflow direction, simply push the reverse button once. You'll see the arrow in the display change direction and the fan will gradually reverse its rotation. Air is now blowing upward. Push the button again and the airflow returns to the previous direction. For demonstration purposes, there's a test button which puts the fan and light through a complete demonstration cycle in about 90 seconds. All the segments in the display turn on at once, then the fan goes through its test mode. Note the word test is on in the display. As with other special features, any feature can be canceled by pushing the test button a second time. Since we don't want to watch the entire test program here, we'll just cancel it. Some familiar features have been retained in ComfortTouch. Push the Saver button and the word Saver appears in the display. Now, anytime the lights are turned on, they will automatically turn off after 60 minutes. This is ideal for those areas where people tend to leave the lights on, wasting energy. It's also handy in a child's room, where you may wish to leave the lights on until the child goes to sleep. We have this feature in the original Intellitouch, but because of the programming required, it is rarely used. Next, I'll push the security button, and you'll note the word security appears in the display. Now, the lights will turn on and off in a random pattern designed to give the home a lived-in look. The lights will turn on at varying intensities to further enhance the effect. Now, this is a good time to point out that several special features can be activated at one time. Here, for example, you see both Saver and Security in operation simultaneously. Of course, other combinations are possible. A new feature added to ComfortTouch is what we call the winter mode. Now, we always talk about being able to use the very low speed of an Intellitouch fan in the wintertime to recirculate the warm air usually trapped against the ceiling. In ComfortTouch, we've taken that to a new level of sophistication. Simply push the winter button and notice that the fan is set at low speed with upward airflow. In this mode, air is gently circulated upward across the ceiling and back down the walls of the home. However, every 10 minutes, the winter feature increases the fan speed to speed 3 for 10 seconds. This is just enough to break up any stratification layers and recirculate valuable warm air without creating a draft. This is a patented exclusive new feature for Casablanca, a feature that enhances the year-round utility of ceiling fans. Now, probably the most important new feature made possible by the technologies of ComfortTouch is auto speed. Simply push the auto button to activate it. Notice that the winter mode is canceled. These two features cannot be on at the same time. Now set the fan speed to, let's say, speed 3 and the desired airflow direction, let's say down. Once the fan speed has been set for desired comfort at the room temperature indicated, the auto speed feature takes over. If the temperature in the room increases, the fan speed will gradually increase to maintain comfort. The same is true in the other direction. When room temperature decreases, the fan speed also decreases. All this is done within the microprocessor control which commands the fan whenever a change is needed. This is perfect control for any room in the house, be it a kitchen where cooking and sun load cause big changes in temperature, a room with a fireplace, or a bedroom where temperature changes during the night can make you feel too cool. ComfortTouch easily accommodates these changes to maintain personal comfort. As you can see, ComfortTouch offers a whole host of new features aimed at making the ceiling fan a year-round comfort, convenience, and energy-saving appliance. Couple that with traditional Casablanca beauty and quality, and you can see why the ComfortTouch is the most exciting addition to the ceiling fan industry in its history. ComfortTouch is Casablanca's commitment to putting technology to work to keep its products first in line when consumers think of a ceiling fan. Casablanca fans, still the world's finest.